Hello and welcome to Royale Without Cheese, our bi-weekly podcast in which we discuss both the classic and the unknown of art and popular cinema from the then and now. We are your hosts, me, Leonardo Miranda, Miguel Aido,
Hey.
and Tomás Ferreira.
Hello there.
As part of our award season segment, we'll be looking at the likely contenders for the 2026 Oscars. Today we talk about Blue Moon, but before any ado, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, or simply give us a like. Blue Moon is a 2025 American biopic comedy drama directed by Richard Linklater and written by Robert Kaplow, inspired by the letters of Lorenz Hart and Elizabeth Wieland. Its plot follows Hart, American lyricist of the old Broadway hit team Rodgers and Hart, as he reflects on his life on the opening night of Oklahoma, a new musical by former colleague Richard Rodgers. Blue Moon had its world premiere at the 75th Berlinale, where it won the Silver Bear for Best Supporting Performance for Andrew Scott. At the 83rd Golden Globe Awards, it was nominated for Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, with Hawke receiving a nomination for Best Actor. Very well, Linklater digs up a classy legend of a bygone era in this funny Valentine. But what did Royale truly think of this revival? Were we bewitched or bewildered by Mr. Hart's woes or unbothered by the sappy dreams he shows? Fellas, let's dive in.
First of all, Happy New Year for everyone.
New Year.
We're starting out
Happy
our
New Year.
Oscar segment season.
Of course, yes.
Of course.
Like, I don't even have a Christmas mug or anything.
Yeah. The proof of that is Tomás' new look, so clearly
Yeah,
we
it's
are
true.
already
It's true.
in 2026.
Clearly it's the new year.
Less speaking to my performance, more to the performance of Ethan Hawke. What did you
Wow, what a
think of
segue.
his, yeah.
No, I really like the movie. I love the movie. I think it's fantastic. I think it's the best thing I've seen from Linklater in a while. Although I don't know
Oh,
how many
wow.
I've seen it.
Very interesting.
Which one is better? Tell me now.
Yeah,
watched-
well,
I
do
only
you know?
watched
Do
the
you
Os-
know?
Yes, it doesn't have that much, yeah. Like the last one I saw was Hitman, which is good, it's fine, but I mean it's not
Yeah.
Blue Moon.
I haven't seen Hitman, precisely because I wouldn't think Hitman would be the kind of thing I would be super interested. More like a fun, light thing. But Blue Moon is that thing, it just hits you in the feels in such an eloquent way. It's such a complex, earnest way, I think. And Linklater, I've recently seen back-to-back the trilogy the Before Sunrise trilogy, and I've already seen the first two. The third one was missing, but I saw it all together because I want the full voyage, and it was just an emotional train wreck by the end of it. And so with this one, after that voyage, I was really craving for some more Ethan Hawke, and by God did he deliver in doing the very thing he said he wanted to do, because the genesis of this project started way, like I think early 2000s or something like that. So him and Hawke were talking about it. But Linklater said, as he says in interviews to Hawke, upon his interest in doing the script right there and then in 2005 or something, there's a problem. Women still want to sleep with you. So let's wait until you get older. So it went on and on and on. And so are we ready yet? No. And
To be
shorter,
fair,
and shorter.
I think women still want to sleep with Ethan.
Exactly. It is true.
Yes.
Men want to be with him and sleep with him as well.
Everybody does.
Arriving at 2024, 2025, calls him back and says, yeah, we're ready. I mean, the makeup and costume design is perfect, because to give him those lenses that completely fade away those blue eyes that he has, I think they're blue, then that hairpiece that he wears, and then that suit that makes him compact and square, blue, of course, he, is really, there's always interesting, how do you make a character outstand from the crowd, especially in a film that is about a crowd, about one space, about a bunch of people in one small space, and he puts him to be the one and only in blue. So it's very easy to track him. I think that was very much on his mind, especially being that the place is all in red as well. So it really helps to see where is he in the midst of all this.
It's never
but yeah,
it's never really that hard. I mean, it's like the
it's not
main
hard.
focus
He's
of
the
the
center,
story
of
were
course,
always
of
there.
course. But emotionally, I mean,
But, like,
he could,
where
if
did he
he
go?
had, what I mean is, if he had the white suit, it wouldn't be as remarkable, because the bartender wears white, so it's like kind of blasé, it doesn't really stay. The blue has staying power, because that's how he is, melancholy. And to speak of melancholy, and to the core of what the movie talks about, I really love the opening of the film. I think it's very interesting that he chose to have the film starting with these two lines that sort of work as an epitaph to Hart's life, which is like, on the one hand, something very positive. He was dynamic, he was light, he was fun, from like that screenwriter who stole his job, Oscar. And then a very close friend and actress, actually cabaret singer, I think, Maybelle Mercer, she says, on the other hand, the saddest person I've ever met in my life. So there's this contradiction. And I think at the core of this film, there's this unwavering, unfortunate misunderstanding of the artist and of the forlorn man that is kind of Hart, Is he the center and attention of the room, this great storyteller, this great bard, or is he in fact very alone and sad? He's both things, as we all are, across our lives. And I think it paints very well the picture, those two lines, and then proceeding to what is the very brief, sort of say, prologue that's before. Prologue, which is him on the streets, rainy, blue, moonlight, and falling apart and dying all alone. It's this very melancholy visage of a man who is the archetype of the sad clown, singing for others but never making himself laugh inside, always alone, always scared. I think that's kind of the motto of the film. That's what we go into, and I think Linklater expresses very well, because in this hotel, that is the Sardis Hotel, a real life hotel where you would have the hangouts that were pre and after the shows of Broadway, where you have indeed all these pictures of famous celebrities from Broadway hit shows. It's not just a simple hotel, he introduces the place to us, kind of a sort of very empty place at first, but then it gets filled up with people and start to realize it's this nucleus of this kind of theater life in downtown New York. And then you really start seeing that the voyage she goes on in this hotel, it's sort of it's a second stage. It's a second play. It's not, it's not the play of theater. It's the play of life where performers, artists such as he is, Hart, perform for each other, in trying to express their ambitions and their desires to each other, trying to sell it. And in his case, he's trying to sell his desire, his ambitions to his former colleague, Rogers, to let's make another play again, and I really love you, although I just, criticize and shut on her play. So there's always this sense of mask or performance, which is, typical in these worlds of artists and trying to get together and do things together and not do things together, but there's resentment and jealousy and all those kind of contradictory feelings, especially when you both like and dislike, and have conflicting feelings with someone that you've worked with, and etc. And so it's like you have these two polar opposites, these two passions in discussion in this film, which very much reminds me of The Red Shoes as well, which is your passion for your career, for your art, and that's the link he has with Rogers, played by Andrew Scott. And then the passion, there is a romantic passion that we all mortals have, that in him trying to swoon this very younger 20-year-old poet and I think aspiring actress, I'm not sure anymore, but he's playing on both those
production
fields.
design.
A writer, yeah,
Production
writer,
designer,
designer.
right. Yeah, he's playing on both those fields, and it's interesting to see how he does it and how both of those characters that are on the receiving end of his love, they don't answer back to him in and this is the genius of it, I think, at the end of the film, is how he constructs that momentum to their response. How does Andrew Scott's character Rogers, a former colleague who abandoned him, respond to his neediness, quote unquote, or Elizabeth? It's not with dislike, utter resentment or rejection, but it is with a sort of understanding. They do love the man, Rogers being that I never disrespected your work, I think your work is brilliant, you are the problem. Or Elizabeth, when he finally confesses his love for her, she doesn't you would expect somehow a very overly dramatic, oh my God, such a disgusting human being or something like that, That would be the easy reply. But what hurts more is the fact that him say, I love you, but just not that way anymore, so to speak. We can still kind of have this thing going on, but we need to find a way to work through your imperfections and what cannot be, there are different circumstances. I cannot speak to both Rogers and Elizabeth in complete similar ways, but there's a similarity in how they are kind with him. There is both the difficulty of speaking of him as someone who is this imaginative romantic, who can be very selfish, very careless, very, let go with his booze and everything, which hinders his work and just keeps him blind to other people's, kind of lives and emotions. But then he's also very charming. There's also this other side to the man where he does have this magnetic talent where when he speaks, he controls the air temperature, and people recognize that in him, including Elizabeth, including Rogers, and that's why they want to keep being with him. It's just, how do you deal with this kind of frivolous, difficult, boiling relationships when we have such a contradictory person? Anyway, these are my first thoughts, immediate thoughts on the film. What do you think?
I was really struck by the structure of the film and the plot. I mean, I didn't think. I mean, I had really no idea what the film was about, so my my ideas of what it would be were already kind of very reduced. I mean, I knew it was about like a period piece about a performer, but I mean, I didn't really know much about it else. But I mean, I didn't imagine it would be so contained and so like such a modest project in a sense of completely not leaving this one bar, place where really we are between the counter and that cloakroom and the stairs and not many other places within this space. And still, it's such an engaging film. I mean, the dialogues are so witty and funny, and it's really well written. I mean, I was so impressed with the dialogues and the strength of everything that and is being brought forth because they speak about a lot of things. There are a lot of themes present here, and love and jealousy and everything. And to do it with such a small cast and a small place, it's really very impressive. I think we really could analyze it a bit, on this regard because it's something that I think it's really well done. But yeah, I mean, I think you touch on a lot of different things, Maj, and when you mentioned is the way he's characterized. I mean, I would add, making Ethan Hawke purposefully shorter. You talked about the lenses and the hair and the blue suit, but I mean, knowing Ethan Hawke and knowing that he's normal height, perhaps tall, I don't know, but at least
Is he
tall.
tall?
Maybe
I think
not
he's
tall,
tall.
but definitely like normal medium height. But I mean,
He's
clearly seeing him so short, like
Yeah.
constantly, like the shortest person in the room was funny, was quirky, and definitely added to the character. I think it was interesting.
at least he's 179, so
Yeah, okay, it's normal
I'm
height.
taller than him.
he's tall for me. He's normal height for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think his character is full of little details, and they really changed Ethan Hawke for this film. And it's interesting to see the continuing collaboration between Linklater and Ethan Hawke, the different projects that they do, and it's always surprising. It's always different. I think. I was thinking when I was watching the film, this is the same person that did Boyhood, and it's so crazy to think how different they are and the character and everything. So it's kind of a testament also to his acting and to his interest in an acting as well, which we know from just seeing his demeanor in interviews. But yeah, I think this is a really interesting film of this collaboration as well.
I mean, yeah, it's a great film. I think with Ethan Hawke is I still recognize like his demeanor in the character. It's very Ethan Hawke has a way of speaking, a way of being that is very unique to him.
Yes.
When you see in interviews, like, and it's still there. It's always I feel like he's always in the characters that he plays. He's not an actor that I would say like that the persona of the actor, like who he is in real life, gets completely lost in the character. I feel like it's still there a little bit, and that's not bad. I think it brings its own thing. The character is so captivating. It's like he really commands your attention. It's like every time he's speaking, it's a performance, and you can really feel that he's performing all the time. To a point where he himself acknowledges it when it's time to really perform for Rogers and Hammerstein, and he starts saying, "Oh, it's a marvelous play. I love it." After you
Yes.
just saw him, call it a 14 carat piece of shit. So it's really interesting, you know. In a way, it's a flaw of the character, but I don't know. Like you also understand that he wants to work, he wants to make his things, and he's very bitter, about the fact that he was substituted. But it's his own undoing. So you also, it's or at least from the discussions that they have, you understand that like he lacks work ethic, and he doesn't have like the business mind that Rogers have to understand. You know, you need to appeal to the public even in this manner, which is complicated. And so their discussion about the future project and how Lorenz is always like trying to, oh, it's a send up, or we're gonna mock this type of thing, and the other, well, go easy on the mocking. Let's just make something that people like. It's always an interesting dynamic, and I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just like, I think it's interesting to portray their differences in wanting to appeal to a wider audience in that manner, which probably is also a root of the tensions there. And it goes beyond, like, clearly he has a problem with alcohol. Like, he puts throughout the film, he's always like, he catches another drink, or he just said, no, just put the drinks there. I'm just gonna look at them. I'm not even gonna drink. To show that he has self-control. But then each time he gets another one, and so the film being all taking place in the bar and how it develops. So Linklater is always like, not always, but most of the time he's dealing with time and the passage of time. And so in this one is obviously, compared to Hitman, is a return to that sort of thinking that he has with movies, which is, I genuinely thought this was going to be like a more conventional biopic. And I was ready for that, to see the story of Lorenz Hart from where he began to where he ended. But no, then I saw like, okay, it's been 20 minutes, we haven't left the bar. What's going on? Okay. And then it's going to be like a chamber piece. It's all here. And I really liked it. So yeah, I think I need to rewatch
Yeah.
it already knowing that's all going to take place in the same
Mhm.
location.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I think the film, yeah, surprises you because of that, but then you think, yeah, I mean, I wish more stuff would be like this, because it's so engaging, on an not just intellectual level, but I mean, the fact that all these themes are being explored in a very nuanced manner, but also in a really engaging way, really makes you attentive to them. And I don't know, it's just it's a much more interesting way, I think, to explore his life and his struggles than to see it through a conventional biopic. I think you really don't need much. You can just have a single space, couple of characters, and you get the job perhaps probably much better done than if you had done it in another way. And the most obvious way the film, you know, does this is by really just being a play. I mean, we kind of touched this on in some ways, but I mean, the film is basically a play, and that's the interesting part of it, is that it's really joining the themes with the formal way of shooting and plotting the story and how you actually approach it. So it's an interesting way to look at their work as playwrights and then the film as a play. And I also really enjoyed the back and forth between Ethan Hawke and, I think it's Bobby Cannavale, right? The actor, the
Yes,
bartender.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny, the exchanges that they have. Really really funny.
Well, yeah, I mean, touching on various points you discussed here, first of all, Bobby Cannavale, that interaction, it's one of the most exciting character introductions I've seen in a long while, has been in this film when he enters that bar, because proper introduction happens in that bar. We've seen him before, but this is where you see him be, and what he says, just the very thing he says, is just a reenactment of Casablanca, like, where are you, or something, it's like this Mexican stand-up kind of thing. What have you came to do here, and clearly there's a tension in the air because the piano player thinks, is this serious, because he has a gun in his hand, the bartender, but it's all fun and games. And it's very interesting because we are using this outer worldly example in another art form, nothing to do with Broadway or theater. It's film of the time, Casablanca, but it serves a purpose in already saying something, which, first of all, this man immediately controls the room temperature and what is being said in the room, because he immediately goes into monologue. And you said it right, Miguel, the fact that this is a play, or it feels like it, it's very much in the fact that of the real-time sense that you have of it, and it being in one location, and it touches very much on his Linklater's interest that he shows in Boyhood and like the Before trilogy, where you accompany these characters in real time, but nothing has real as this movie. I would say this is the realest time we get because there are no ellipses, no jumps in time back or forth. So, except for the beginning, where, like I said, it's very much a prologue for the very reason that you do feel the snippet and let's move on to what happened before his death. But when that happens, it's clear, it's there, this is the stage, and how the characters interact, it's just very interesting because they act, these regulars, and the way he organizes the space in this hotel is very interesting because how do you make this engaging? First of all, you don't place him as a center of attention. He is at the bar, his kingdom, the booze, etc. While everybody else is at the great dining hall celebrating their big hit, Oklahoma, which he hates. So he is not with
Does
the
he
big
hate
stars
it?
or whatever.
I
I
wanted
think
to
he doesn't
discuss
like
that
it.
afterwards.
Okay,
He probably does.
duly noted. But
Put a pin on that.
yeah, because he's there at the bar, and the interesting thing is that he places them with the regulars, with the bartender, with the piano player, with the pinnacle, whatever that is, the appetizers, and one other writer who is alone. So he is with those people who don't quite belong in his world, so they're just enough outside of his reality to listen to his spiel without the strong skepticism of like that Rogers would show, like, okay, here we go again. Although the bartender shows some because he knows him for a long time. But it's very interesting, that first story of Casablanca, because he really shows that thing he wants to pinpoint, which is, I'm not here for sentimentalism. I'm not, he already starts poking fun at the dialogue in Casablanca, how unreal it is, the happy ending, etc. Happy, so to speak, quote unquote. Just the lines that kind of speak to a romanticism that is hokey or corny, etc. But
No,
in
he
a way,
likes
this
it.
guy is
I don't think that's true.
he does, you think?
He said nobody's ever loved me that much. He loves that line. He's saying that's
He
the
does say
that's a
that.
line.
Yeah, he does. But I think, it's not a plain like
He only
he does
complains that
criticize it before that.
the press a precedent has been established is a stupid line, which it kind of is, yes. But other than that, I think
Yeah.
he likes Casablanca. I don't know.
Okay.
Where'd you get? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think he said more where he disliked the movie, much more than just that line. But I also remember what you say, which is, him almost saying, but there are good lines as well.
Then
There
he
is good
talks
stuff in the
about
film.
Claude Rains being like a perfect
Yes, he
leading
does.
man
Yes,
without
he does.
being.
Yes, he does. Yes. But I think
I'm
he was
just
like picking
trying to
choosing
find
things he
what.
liked and disliked.
Yeah, I
I
don't.
don't remember
I don't
very well,
remember the things he
the
disliked.
pinpoint the lines. But this was a feeling that I
But I
got.
think you can
He
point out
kind of.
things you don't like about a film without, there's movies I'd say are perfect that I can pinpoint.
Okay, hate
things
was
that I
too
just.
strong of a word.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
admit. Hate
You
was too
would
strong of a
hate the
word. I'll
film.
reiterate that. It is true. Because I had forgotten completely about Cloud Rain and that other line that he liked. So you're right, it's true. But he does pinpoint, the fact of sentimentalism. And then right after, and to that effect, he also talks of Oklahoma being sentimentalist, steer away from plays that have an exclamation point. If you see that, don't go there. And you spoke of the way he speaks and the way
But
he
like,
is. And there's a little
but
bit
that's
of
what
an
I'm
Ethan Hawke
because
way.
Casablanca doesn't
Yeah.
have an exclamation point. That's why I don't think he's using Casablanca as a way to compare it to Oklahoma, as in they're the same. I think if he's I don't even know if he's creating like a parallel between the two, but if he is, it's more of a contrast. In like he's talking about a film that
Then I have to
is
see
well
again.
made, but I mean, it's still sentimental, but it's not. It's a lot colder than like the neat Americana of Oklahoma, house on the
Sure.
prairie type of thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not
Curly.
that. Yeah,
Kinda stuff.
curly.
Yeah.
Oklahoma. I've never seen Oklahoma, so I have no idea.
No, I've heard a lot about it. Hugh Jackman did it as well, so it's a big thing. But there's all this talk about not being sentimentalist, etc. But then he is a sort of hopeless romantic as well. No, there's this line that he says, about the girl Elizabeth as he's meeting tonight, as he says, which is like, what is it? I have here kind of written down. This is beyond sex. I'm gonna try to say as he says it. This is beyond sex. I don't understand it. She's completely undeserving. But isn't that the way it always is? Like he has these little inflections and his husky voice. Irrational adoration. That's the phrase she came up with.
She's a
She's
poet.
a poet. You'll love it. There's this he has these like waves, these high inflections that he gives to words every now and then that kind of keeps you in a trance throughout his spiel. And he has that feel of a play because it is very much like a monologue. You could have this guy monologuing on a real life stage, a real life playing. It is that, it feels like a play. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Let me just
that
add,
aspect.
not that, kind of change something else because it was something that Leo had said before, like with the performance aspect of his acting and the overall actors. But it's interesting because I watched it with English subtitles, and the amount of times that he's supposedly quoting something, and so you see it with quotes, is astonishing because
Oh yeah, yes,
I think it
indeed, it
furthers
is.
that aspect of the performance. Everything that he says, even though it fits perfectly within the line and the conversation that he's having, is actually something that he's taking from something else, from a book, a movie. So everything is a little quote, is a little hint of a text, of a passage, and yeah, I mean, his life is a performance, and it's interesting to see that. Of course, it's something that you only access through the subtitles, but or I guess if you knew all of these by heart and you could identify them, but in any case, it's supposed to be that it's this performance that he's constantly having of always picking up something and using it and always very well and very intelligently. So it's a nice thing because you're constant. At least for me, when I was reading, I was always like, oh, okay, he's quoting someone, and sometimes you wouldn't even know what he's quoting, but it's always interesting to see the side of him that is clearly very knowledgeable and very of a poet, really.
Yeah, I mean, he meets the writer. That writer is sitting on the booth, and he immediately like quotes something he wrote to him. And it's like, I would
Yeah.
never even remember. Like, I couldn't do that. I was like, oh, you wrote that
No.
thing. How does it go? He's like directly saying,
Yeah.
interesting because then they like talk about. They give that the origin of Stuart Little is Lorenz Hart
It's
talking
true.
to the guy. That's a funny little
But you have a lot of cameos, so
rewriting
to
of
speak,
history.
of famous people of the time, like George Roy Hill, I imagine, appears, the director. But I'm not sure if it's him.
And even at that moment, the quote that it, not the quote, in that case, it was like an advice, so it was original, I suppose. It was like, whatever. I have to search it
I know what you mean.
correctly.
I know what you mean.
It's
I
basically
remember, yeah.
about, doing that comparison between the importance of, or not importance, but how suspicious one can get with relationships of love versus those of friendships, and which was interesting because it was almost like he was trying to justify the fact that Elizabeth was only a friend to him. So it was
Yeah,
almost
that
like,
was the word on my mind, justify.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
when you
like a
said it as
coping
well. Yeah.
mechanism. Like, clearly I can't be more, so let me just frame this as something that I'm actually happy with rather than I'm disappointed. Which then we see clearly he is when he has that sort of private moment with her in the cloakroom. And speaking of that other thing I was saying, because whether he had actually liked the play.
Yeah.
I
Ah,
mean,
yes.
I get the general vibe of him not liking, but to me, I mean, it's kind of mostly I agree. I think it's true. He disliked it to some extent. I just don't know how far that goes because
Mm.
clearly there's jealousy involved here
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
fact that this play is between him and someone else, and to some
Sure, you could
extent,
argue for that. Yeah.
I mean, you never really know how far he actually disliked it because a lot of it is just remorse
But
and
I think that would make him dislike it, even if it's like an unfair thing to hold against the film. But like, I think that jealousy would make him dislike it even more, even if it. I think he
But I think
but
that's what
at
like.
makes
an
his time.
intellectual level, what I mean is, did he actually look at it and say
I don't think
this
there.
is
I
bad or
just
this
don't
is
think you
good?
can make the difference between. I don't think there's like a two sides in him. In one where he's like, "Oh, I
Ah,
actually
yeah,
like
no, you
this,"
can't.
but it's all
mixed
mungled up to
together.
the point where his dislike of it is genuine, even if if it comes from the fact that he's bitter and jealous about it. Uh,
No, no,
maybe,
that I
but
agree. I just think that maybe there's a part of him that could have been appreciating some
I think
things
he
as he was
appreciates the
No,
singing.
craft
I
at
personally, I
least.
don't think so. I
I
don't
think
think
when he
so.
calls it a 12 carat piece of shit, I think he's saying it's well made, but it's a piece of shit anyway. Like, but I do
Okay,
think
to
there's
that
a
extent, but
think there's a
he does
like he
pay
understands that
compliments
it's
to
well
him
crafted.
very much. He's a great showman, Rogers. You know, he does say that he does what's best for art. You know, which is to levitation.
Levitate.
But then he's a show businessman. You know, he's the happy-go-lucky uh, ending man. You know, like which he is not. I think to me he reiterates so much and so much that he's much more of a man of satire. He's much more of a man of trying to seek out the complex emotionality rather than the sentimentality. That I think he's just his simple philosophy of how he approaches story is different from this other guy. I don't think he liked the play at all, from an intellectual point of view.
I
But you
just
could argue. Hmm.
I just think that there's a certain amount of it which is very contextual and of the moment. And in it, I think he's also expressing what he's going through at the moment. I mean, he's clearly going through a moment of feeling neglected and not having a positive outlook on life. And so, him expressing that desire for more complex emotional stuff is because it just he can't make happy endings, I think. And yeah, and the other one can, because it's on a good run commercially. So these different mindsets allow them for different things and for wanting to write different things. And so I think part of it, if not a big one, but part of it I think has to do with this current frame of mind that they're having, that which is clearly different. And also, on Lorenz's case, made that much bigger by also the Elizabeth, that little thing that he has that is not quite something, but is also not, a relationship. So yeah, I think it's all of these things put together.
I mean, yeah, he's not the guy I would go for an objective like review of Oklahoma. I mean, he calls it Oklahoma. It's like very juvenile, but funny.
Which is and also interesting because there's a lot of subtext about whether he's gay or not. So
Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
interesting to see him playing with that and also feeding on the jokes with the bartender, but then not knowing, but always there's this doubt about that. So
Hmm.
it's funny to see the extent that he goes with the jokes. Although I don't think he is,
I don't
in my
know.
opinion.
At best, he might be bisexual. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and he speaks of beauty and looking at beauty,
Yeah, yeah.
regardless
I
of.
love that line. I love that thing. You know, you'll tell your mother that okay, Larry Hart is drunk and drunk with beauty. Beauty in men, in women, even in a young 20-year-old poet like you with green eyes and two freckles on her left cheek. You know, it's amazing. That scene, it's so powerful. Like when they go, I mean, it's so amazing how he uses this small space and finds within it small space, well, the restaurant, the hallway of the hotel and everything, and finds other microcosmic spaces within it for you to go around and inside, and how they all have different emotional uh, currents to them. When he goes to that place where they keep all the jackets, that I don't know what you call it, that
Cloakroom.
closets, cloakroom, yes. He goes in there, and by God, I'm like, oh God, Larry, what are you doing? Please don't do this. Don't put yourself in this. I'm like, oh God, I was like, how do you say this in English? Like vergonha alheia, like embarrassment for another, like.
Yeah.
This is a good
Embarrassing.
translation for English
Cringy.
to
It's
be
great. It's a cringy
it's
feeling.
cringeworthy. More than cringy, I sympathize and feel sad for him because, like, don't do this to yourself, because he's actively putting himself in the place of, I'm going to be just a good
But
listener.
you're also skipping something interesting, which is by then it's pretty obvious that they had nothing and that she doesn't love him back. And so the why the well done
But
aspect
even
of
before,
this.
when he was early on, when he was discussing with E.B. White, the writer of Stuart Little, he did say maybe tonight is that other night. So nothing happened. He's expecting for this night that something happened. So we already then knew that they didn't
Yeah,
have
but
anything.
I don't know. I mean, I felt for everything that was written up until that point that it was sort of obvious that they wouldn't have anything, that
Oh, I knew
whether
that. I
it's
knew that, of
whether
course.
yeah, but that's what I mean. I mean, when you enter that cloakroom, you know that he's going to be faced with negative, news. So and it's very well written, to have made
I
that
was
point
just
up until then.
the question of did they had sex or didn't they had, that thing. Even if
Okay.
they,
No.
but even that was like
I mean, even the moment,
very
like,
skewed.
as soon as she comes in, you kind of understand, oh, she doesn't, like, she's treating him almost like a gay friend, like the gay friend that is
Yeah.
like, she's telling about the boys and things like that. And she's very young. It's like, immediately you understand that he was building up something that it's clearly just in his head.
Poor guy.
And
Like
even then,
all
like,
those,
I feel like to some extent he understands that. It's like a dual thing that he's almost
yeah.
understanding of his own delusion, but he's also like hope. It's very complicated. It's very interesting the way he
Because
is.
he's like because he's trying to cling on to it. He cling on with to the presence of this person. The longer I listen, the longer I can be here. The longer she stays, the longer we continue. And then it's just this thing of like, yeah, oh my God, fucking shit. I'm listening to him and I'm like, oh my God, no, because the worst of it all. There's that attitude, that action, and what makes your heart just blows for him is the fact that he says these things that puts himself down, that he dissipates himself towards her, as almost with a bow, by saying, "I want to know every sordid detail. That's why I'm here." Oh my God, no, please God, I'm not. Don't put yourself in
Yeah.
that situation, man. Like you're putting yourself in a situation. It's degrading. It's like I'm a stick for your. I'm an instrument for your woes. Like just channel. And it's so sad because he reduces himself to that and ceases to have any sort of like identity. And that's the saddest thing when you're trying to woe a person or just impress, and just having the listener part, which will make you kind of go away. And he's just there with that. And beyond that, he's kind of putting himself down, which is not good. And she tells the thing so well with ups and downs. The sex didn't happen, so you're like, whew, and then it happens, and you're like, oh, and it's like, so what does it? And it feels like this amazing. I don't know. This I will say a stupid comparison, but it's like Avengers final boss fight, so to speak. I don't mean Avengers per se or superheroic. What I mean to say, it's more like a climatic moment, because it is a climatic moment. You're seeing a fight of titans, the him trying to fight for some sense of meaning and purpose, the clown who can have some joy thrown at him back, and not just throw joy at others and be an instrument for others through his words, through his lyrics. And yet he tries to find love in a place that it's just not giving the way he wants. And it's just so sad. And the way they act around the space, going smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah. I was
A
gonna
place
mention
beneath the
that.
desk, and they sit down. And he just looks like, what he describes, a 17-year-old boy again, there 47, 48-year-old man can become, as we all can become, again, that hopeless, romantic 17-year-old boy trying to find a little piece of string to, hold off, and she just doesn't love him that way. And what I love about it is that she doesn't respond immediately with like disgust or whatever. You're an older man. That's one of the clear obstacles that he has in front of him that he's trying to kind of dissipate. But she answers with this respect and love, in a way, friendship that is very strong still. And that is what also kind of hurts a lot, because, you wish that if it was as simple as just cutting an umbilical cord, but no, it's still here. But it also helps the healing process as well, and then he has that line that led us to all of this, which is the assumptions that a mother made about him, and what he responds with, that he sees beauty in everyone, and in men and women. Yeah, it might be another way of him justifying himself, but it's truthful, because it's how he should look. It's comforting. I think. Yeah, it's filled of like, it's a voyage, that scene. I think it's a voyage. When he says like, you see in his eyes, so you would drive 30 miles for him and not for me. And I'm like, oh my God, man, don't do this. And I'm like, shit. Oh my God, you're dying. And then she says, and I'm like, oh, this is the moment where everything is gonna fall apart, And he gets those all puppy dog eyes, Anyway, but it's very poignant. I like it very much.
And that's all for today. If you'd like to reach out and suggest a film for the next episode, you can find us on the podcast, official Instagram, and website pages. Feel free to subscribe, share this episode, or simply give us a like. That's how our podcast can grow ever more groovy. And if you're on YouTube and want to see more videos like this, check out this next video right here. Thank you for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye 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 bye.